Hey, everybody.
Welcome to Trust Relations, the podcast.
I'm here with April, the founder of Trust Relations and the doyen of all things public relations.
And of course, we're joined by the wonderful Hamish, our marketing lead and expert in the space, who I like to call my marketing other half.
We're tackling some of the biggest topics in news and integrated marketing and learning from the mistakes that make headlines or sink brands.
So join us as we have a chat about what works, what doesn't, and what we have to say about all of it.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, my.
Good morning and welcome to the podcast.
So glad to be here.
It's so much fun.
You sound so creepy.
No, this is just my morning voice.
Wow, we sound insane.
That's become our new intro.
Oh, God, help us all.
Welcome to the Trust Relations podcast.
I mean, I would run far away.
Yeah, fair.
So good morning.
Good morning and afternoon.
How was your week?
How was my week? How was the week? Which week? Hello,
What-
May, June, July. It's been wonderful, I think. Weather has been all right for a few days here in Sydney. So
No more monsoons?
No, they're predicting. I was reading an article yesterday that today is the last of the sunny days that we'll have for the rest of the month.
Oh.
There's at least 9 days of rain coming.
So you better go for a walk today. Or a hike or something. Gotta get
I'm
out.
gonna do something. Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Hi everyone, this is your show producer, Veronica, dialing in with today's communications buzzwords. April's word is predilection, and for Hamish, the word is specious. Happy listening.
We digress.
So should we get into it? Let's do this for real.
Let's dive in.
All right. So should we kick things off with the news?
Let's do that. There's a lot of news out there at the moment.
We
I
have
feel.
we have a few options that we narrowed it down to. So we have
I saw.
the survey conducted by the Harris Poll that's finding that global executives are admitting to overstating their company's sustainability efforts, or quote unquote greenwashing,
Yeah.
which does not surprise me.
It's a hot button topic, and if you aren't on the train, then you're going to be shunned by society, even if everyone knows that everyone's lying.
The 72% of executives attend almost 5 sustainability meetings per quarter, and they're investing close to 10% of their budget on sustainability. 63% of executives are willing to grow their business in a way that is sustainable for the planet, even if it means lowering revenue in the near future. And then it says of executives willing to tie compensation to sustainability goals, millennials are leading the way, not surprisingly. So let's see what else we find in this report. I want to see the greenwashing statistics. How bad are they?
Nearly all have at least one program in place to advance their sustainability initiatives. Of that, though, it dives quickly. 36% of businesses have some sort of measurement in place. And then worse than that, 17% only are using that to optimize based on results. So I think rhetoric is cheap. Yes, we love the environment. And yes, we have initiatives. And yeah, we measure them. And yes, we use that to improve.
I mean, this is definitely the definition of why people should be leaning into trust relations, right? If we go back to the doing things authentically, this is like the selling a bill of goods instead of doing things authentically. And I don't like that our society is putting pressure on people to lie, because then it's like, okay, cool, yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we're all green.
But is that? I don't think that's a new societal thing. The expressions that we don't use as often as we used to, maybe, but that have been around for hundreds of years. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth and things like that. They came from traders lying to each other, so it's not that it's new necessarily.
No, it's not. I think what's partly new is the societal pressure of constituents, audience members, customers, clients, etc., that are demanding that companies be a certain way, which is then making them lie about it.
Okay. Yeah. I don't like it either.
It's just fostering more lying. It's encouraging them to lie.
Yeah, it really is.
It's not great.
No. What else did you pick up in this report? I like the fact that 2/3 of respondents know that they want to advance their sustainability efforts, but don't know how. And I think it's also probably a lot of people, despite this being bigger companies and this is an initiative from Google, etc. Everyone's pointing fingers still at major players like fossil fuels and the like, which is fair to some extent, but probably not fair in when you drive through big cities and you have all of these big companies leaving all the lights on because it looks good and the buildings look pretty and all of that could stop. I mean, there's simple ways that things like this can be done. I mean, I've just solved half the world's problems, I know, but it's really so simple. But small things that every company can do is my point. And the more small things that we do, the more normalized the pattern of behavior becomes, and then the more we can tackle the big problems.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think in general, it's important to consider the complexities of adding sustainable things that then create other sustainable issues. And I think that happens a lot too, where it's like, okay, we're going to have all wind power, but that means we're going to eat up all of these acres of land that can't then be used for anything else. Right. And it's like, okay, so there's a push and pull to all of it that I think needs to be carefully considered. It's very easy on the surface to just say, oh, cool, they're doing a green thing. But it's like, is that better?
Yeah. I don't want to be a scientist, I tell you. I don't want to be a politician. That's for sure.
Me neither. All right. Shall we move on?
I think so, unless there was anything else that jumped out at you. To potentially wrap this one up, I think that the issue is that people are greenwashing their statistics because everyone knows that they need to be doing the right thing. But because there's a lack of understanding and education about all of this, and there's not forward momentum on issues which are in the broader or in mainstream media, people are willing to put their hand up and say they're interested and they want to do something, but don't know how. And so when they are doing stuff, they also don't know how to improve it because we're on the bleeding edge. We're all trying to do something, but no one knows how.
Right. The key takeaway here is just that, like, it feels like companies already are under a lot of pressure to do what they say and say what they do, right? There's already kind of a predilection between companies like trying to pretend that they are something that they're not and they're lying already. But if you add in there, okay, we're now getting pressure from external sources and society to look a certain way, then I feel like it's just adding to this issue, you know? So next news item is about Netflix stock and their stock price plummeting badly. It's actually collapsing, and it sounds like everyone's kind of panicking about it. Some of this seems to be driven by the fact that they made some business model decisions to not allow people to share password logins and things like that anymore. I have some questions around, is it about the platform itself? Does that aggressive recommendation of things that it wants you to watch and just auto plays things if you log into Netflix but don't choose something? I find that personally pretty annoying.
Oh, look, I agree with that. I think that there's probably been some erosion of market share to other providers. Disney's been out there for a little while now and has increased its back catalogue of things. So there's more choice. I mean, it leans back into that whole thing of, well, when there's so much choice, you have to choose. And in this instance, I think people have looked at what they want to digest, and maybe Netflix has just not got what people are wanting to digest at the moment as well. I mean, it could be just a blip on the radar. I mean, it's not good. It's a quarter of loss.
It's huge.
It's pretty big.
It's pretty big. I also wondered if, I know a lot of people complain about Netflix feeling they have sort of an agenda behind their programming. It's got this sort of socio-political, seems like the algorithms to recommend things to you are also kind of trying to use the old model of, rather than on your recommendations, it's sort of like, we want everybody in the nation to watch this thing. And it feels like they're kind of shoving things down your throat, so we're all watching the same thing and all talking about the same thing, which is smart, but it's definitely annoying as a user. So I think it like kind of inspires some lack of trust, because it feels less like they're there for you and more like you're there for them.
Yeah, a little bit. I think that there's recommendation engines are always controversial. I mean, years ago, Google had because you search for this, you might also like these results, and then they got rid of it. But they've just brought it back. So you do search results for things. Now you might be looking for a pair of shoes and it will bring up something similar. So they brought their recommendation engine back. So there must be a subset of people out there that really enjoy and like that side of things. And it takes away the thinking process. I look, for me personally, I don't mind because you watched, you may enjoy engine. I never pay any attention to it.
You don't?
No, I read it and I go, nope, 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 nope. I don't feel compelled because it's been thrust at me. So I don't know if that would be the rationale behind it. I know that they justified that, pulling out of Russia has cost them, nearly 1 million users, I think it was, or subscribers. So look, there's going to be some geopolitical issues that also weigh in, and then their stance on things. I mean, inevitably, as you get to be a certain size, the stance, the commentary that anyone in the company makes can be taken the wrong way and affect your stock price, your subscriber base. As a similar show, I was reading something about Disney and the Disney parks, and there's a boycott for people not to go there because of their stance on gender fluidity and other issues, etc. So once you get to a certain size as a company, many factors outside your control and necessarily outside the control of your service quality are judged. And that's, I think, hard as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then there's the trans rights issue in Florida too.
So all of it, and it becomes, it's a landmine. You're in business to provide service or a product, and then the stance that you have on something, or that one person sometimes has in the company, can cost the company in huge ways. And look, that's not always a bad thing. I'm not advocating that it should be ignored. All I'm trying to say is that maybe there's more to this Netflix thing than meets the eye.
For sure.
So I don't know. I mean, the password sharing one is an interesting one.
It is, yeah. I mean, I will tell you that for me, when I go on Hulu, if it recommends something to me, it has my number. Like Hulu, I mean, every time I go and look, it's like, oh, I would like that rom-com. Thanks, Hulu.
Yeah, see, I've that's what I find about the Netflix one, though. I've never found.
Yeah, do you have Hulu?
No, I don't have Hulu. No,
so
I know Hulu.
Okay, yeah. For me, it's like it really has me figured out. Yeah.
Do you have Netflix?
Yeah.
How many services do you have?
Oh God.
Apple, Disney. Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it?
I got rid of Disney. I have Apple. I have Prime, Hulu, Netflix.
This is the thing. We've all got them. Actually, I think I have to cull my subscriptions.
Careful.
Note to self, Hamish, when listening back, cull your subscriptions if you haven't already.
Yeah, same.
I wanted to ask you, though, there was a line in this article that we were reading, and it's related to what we were just discussing with greenwashing. And CMC Market Chief Market Analyst Michael Hewson said, food and energy are people's priorities right now, not watching Stranger Things. It's interesting that I think that...
You haven't met me.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, they were relating to the fact that there's inflationary pressures around the world, and so costs are going up, and so people are looking at, well, I need to feed the family, or I need to have Stranger Things on streaming. There's probably an element to that, and maybe the cost model for Netflix could be looked at. So I think that there's probably a range of factors that I was just going to say need to be considered. Geopolitical, the way that's influencing logistics, which is influencing inflation, so on and so forth. I think to look at it and basically draw a conclusion from one aspect, which this article was doing, is a little bit disingenuous because I just don't think it is looking at the bigger picture. I don't know. I think the article is being a little bit spacious. It's just not really leaning into the truth behind it. I think it's a little bit sensationalist.
Spacious, is that your word of the day?
Oh, well done.
Everyone's applauding. I finally got one. It's like a miracle.
Yes. Well done, madame. Well done, April.
I'm back in the game.
You are.
Barely. Do you want to wrap that one up and introduce today's marketing conundrum?
You have a go.
Okay. I would say, because I have a friend that this just happened to as well in a different scenario. conundrum of the day is what to do when there's nepotism afoot in your client's business. Meaning, you don't just have to navigate the client relationship, but suddenly now you are in a triangle, or even worse, more people. But let's say triangle with a couple, or two brothers, or a brother sister, or two sisters, and you're navigating their interpersonal dynamics on top of a normal working business relationship. Just to add to this, so we have dimensionality, just like give you guys ideas of scenarios. A friend of mine just said that she found out after taking a job that the owner's girlfriend worked there. And so it suddenly became this very strange scenario. This is not a client related thing, but it's like, what do you do when suddenly you find out you're not just dealing with one person, but you're dealing with a relationship? It's like a whole different dynamic.
Yeah, and you know what? I think what compounds this problem in the marketing sphere, and I don't know, you can tell me if it's also in the PR sphere, that everyone is so exposed to communications and marketing and advertising. They know what they like, they know what they dislike, so therefore that makes them a marketing expert. You know, I don't do that. No. I saw this ad the other day and they were doing this, so that's what we should do. And so everyone leans into this whole, well, I know marketing as well. It's not really a science. And, you know, I have an opinion that's just as relevant as yours. But I think, and I've had this exact conversation previously where I was presenting to an exec and board team and they all, oh, no, we need to do this. And I literally stopped and I said, if I walked into this meeting and spoke to and pointed at the CFO to you and told you how to minimize the taxes that the company was paying and that we should be changing our cost models based on this, this, and this, because I do my own taxes and therefore I'm an expert, you would laugh at me. You would not take what I have said on board. You might listen, you might be polite, but I'm going to let you do it as the expert. And that's what this situation needs to be. And I think that the problem is, as I said, too many people see marketing as this thing that they're exposed to all the time. And it is a like or dislike thing because that's how we base our decisions and that's why it works or doesn't work. But in this instance, with the nepotistic twist, it's hard because you start having to navigate, as you said, a relationship with people who you don't know the inner workings. You're not there knowing who's running good cop, bad cop necessarily. And you have to tread a line of being professional. You have to tread a line of holding your own because that's what's best for the company. But there's also this war of attrition going on where you know that ultimately they're probably going to win, but at what cost to themselves and to you as well. So I'd like to lean into what you have to say about this, April.
So we've had a client in the past who the spouse of the co-founder fancied herself a publicist. And essentially they realized that she couldn't fully do it by herself, but they still had to treat her like she was the expert. They were the client contact, but she was sort of in the wings. And so everything that we would recommend or do or write would then be filtered through her and come back with her expert edits and things like that. So I've had that happen. And I've also had not necessarily nepotism, but board members or things like that that have a relationship with TechCrunch and they're going to lean into their personal relationship with said reporter. I've literally never seen it work where a client uses their personal connection with TechCrunch to get a piece. I literally just talked to a prospect earlier today who was going to have one of their investors had a personal relationship with TechCrunch and was going to make it happen. I was like, I'll hear from you in 2 weeks. So we'll talk in a little bit. So it's like, I think that, to your point, lots of people think that they can do marketing or PR because it does seem like, well, you just find email addresses and email people. Or in marketing, I think it seems a little bit more complex. But PR, I think people tend to think they can do themselves, and they only find out by trying to do it themselves that they can't. And you kind of have to let them have that experience and then come to you and like with their head down and say, like, hey, I pulled 200 reporters off the internet and found their emails through Rocket Reach, and emailed all of them a blast email and got nothing. I was like, yeah,
Mm.
that wouldn't get you anywhere.
It's the same
Like,
with
oh, I'm
with
so sorry, you know.
no, but it's the same with websites. I mean, there are all these wonderful website builders out there. You know, your Wix and your Squarespace and all of these things which
Oh,
help
right.
people
Weebly.
get Weebly, get
Yep.
online really quickly. And you set up and you've got a great templated website and it's up there in 5 seconds and you think it's fantastic. And it's only when you then go and you start thinking, well, you know what, it'd be really good if I could move this image over there. What do you mean I broke my website? What? No. Oh, can you fix it? It should only take you 30 seconds. And you're like, no, this is why you actually look to design something that suits your brand, your purpose, your objectives, and you do it properly. So I think in many ways, sometimes these cookie cutter, not one size fits all on it, because I don't want to do them a disservice either. But I think sometimes, whether it's web design or whether it's social seeding platforms, whatever it might be, I think sometimes that bulk approach does a disservice to the broader industry because it devalues the service that has been offered.
Yep.
And not necessarily for improvement. Yes, it might make it more accessible, but it needs to still be done with the intent for purpose.
Yeah. So I want to address the nepotism piece of it. So typically what happens is that you can, if you watch close enough, oh, you're really like leaning in for this, like literally leaning in to listen. Wow.
Yeah.
Like a little kid listening to a bedtime story.
Tell me more. Yeah.
Basically what happens if you pay attention is there's an enabler and then there's the narcissist in the relationship. And so putting it very crudely, right? Obviously things are complex and people can shift roles. But usually you can figure out, okay, person X, definitely the one that we're tap dancing around and everyone's worried because usually then the enabler is like, oh, well, let's not hurt his or her feelings. Like, oh, let's got to make sure that so and so doesn't get mad. Or, you can tell that there's like a tap dancing around that person that isn't happening in reverse. And then the other half of the couple is doing this sort of like, well, better do what she says, or she can, like there's like a supportive role of like, oh, better let the narcissist, play in the sun and be on stage, otherwise we're going to have an issue. And so if you figure out which one is which, then you have to play along with the enabler. If you don't do that, you will not only piss off the narcissist, but you will piss off the enabler, because the enabler is there to protect said narcissist. And if you say any negative word about said narcissist, then enabler feels like they have to come to the rescue or defense of their precious superstar.
What if they both have narcissistic tendencies?
SOL, my friend. No, I'm kidding. I think there's still going to be one that is still driving the main piece of, is
you're right.
Main driver. And, because they're birds of a feather and all of that. But there's still somebody that's, in the passenger seat and somebody who's in the driver's seat, even if you have the front seat driver. But it's not the same as the driver. So he's got to figure out the dynamic. If you step on the toes of baby, nobody puts baby in a corner, and then you're everybody's mad. So that
can you tell them to just get back in their lane?
No,
you do you, I do me. No, I know. And
not unless you actively show them that you're helping. So I think just telling them you know better than them doesn't quite do it. But I think telling them, hey, I'm in your corner. I understand that everything that your beautiful wife said or whatever is like totally valid, or maybe not, maybe soften that, but I understand that she's got a lot of experience and we want to really rely on that, and I'm grateful for it, but that I still think we might want to consider X, because you still have to, otherwise you're going to just get, it's you versus a couple and you're outnumbered.
Yeah. Look, yes, you're right. It's this fine line between all of it.
Yeah. And I would say usually with siblings, it's a little more complicated because they don't necessarily have the same codependent tangle as a couple. Yeah. But usually there's still a sibling that is the main driver, and you have to kind of figure out who that is.
Yeah.
Or a main driver of a certain kind of thing, and the other one is the main driver of the other kind of thing. or the other area of expertise, and then you have to, so that's different. But there's also that dynamic even without nepotism. I've seen that too, where it's like the crazy CEO and everybody knows he's, gonna fly off the handle, and we all just have to, be really careful of it. So it's all this kind of, they can't openly say anything, but everybody is visibly terrified of somebody that's above them. And then you're actually dealing with that person and not the actual client, because the client,
you're dealing with the ego, not dealing with the issues.
and then it's usually like that stuff rolls downhill. So you have what seems like a totally normal client that's completely sane and always reasonable, and suddenly totally unreasonable and insane, and you're like, where's that coming from? It's like, above.
Yeah. It rolls downhill.
That is where it's coming from. So then you also have those weird dynamics where you're, that person is the one you're actually trying to tap dance around, even if they're not present.
Yes.
That's fun. So what is our key takeaway here for how to deal with nepotism in client relationships?
I think it's broader than just how do we deal with nepotism in client relationships. It's how do we deal with client relationships and nepotism when they believe they know more than you do.
And how do you?
The key takeaway, people, lean in.
I'm leaning. I'm gonna listen for my bedtime story.
You have to do it very carefully. And there is no formula for success. I think unfortunately
it is like some MacGyver It is like pulling.
It is
MacGruber. That's what it is.
MacGruber?
MacGruber. Yeah, SNL. But every time, why do I have an S?
Yeah, you do have. You watch a lot of SNL. I mean, seriously.
They're all ancient too. I don't watch it anymore. It's like these ancient SNL things come out. Did you ever see that where he's trying to?
No, I didn't see the MacGruber one.
So he's pretending to be MacGyver. He has to dismantle a bomb in a certain amount of time, and then at the end, he always blows himself up. And then it's like MacGruber.
I haven't seen that. No.
All right. Well, I'll share that.
Yeah.
That'll be in the show notes for everybody because that's important.
But yeah, I think that the thing is, it's all about being careful. I think you've got to stay true to yourself. You don't want to terminate any relationship, obviously. I think, though, there is a line between misrepresenting yourself and therefore the company. If you don't actually do the right thing and put them on the right path, or at least put that forward, you're not doing the right thing by them, I should say. So it's a matter of, if I was to summarize into one sentence, understanding their point of view and then putting your own point of view forward in a way which tries to bring them across without talking down to them.
Very good. All right. Well, good luck. Let us know how it goes on the next podcast.
Will do.
I mean, this is totally hypothetical. Just kidding.
Yes.
All right. Should we get into campaign analysis?
Yes, this one will be fun.
So in this segment, we analyze a recent campaign to determine whether it was successful, missed the mark, what went right, what went wrong, etc. And what is our campaign of the day, Hamish?
We're talking about the fact that influencers invited to the invite-only Revolve Festival at Coachella say it was a disaster. Clothing brand Revolve, the purveyor of influencer looks and music festival fashion, launched the party back in 2015. But this year, people who went, the influencers, are saying it's a little bit like Firefest after transportation issues, lack of water, lack of communication and transport left them high and dry for hours.
This is very bad.
What's your take? Yeah.
So just to give a little more context, so Revolve's annual festival is one of the most exclusive Coachella events for influencers. And basically, what exactly happened? They offered free drinks made with Kendall Jenner's tequila brand and free food from a California luxury supermarket, Erewhon, which is great. Has great, good elixirs. Oh, so great. David Wolf shops there. I still haven't went. Free shopping experiences, gifting suites, performances by a whole bunch of people, including Willow Smith, Jack Harlow. And then, so what exactly went awry here?
You've left out the big ticket item.
What did I leave out?
There was a pink carnival swing ride.
Oh.
I mean, come on. You know, the type of thing.
It was sponsored by Venmo.
Yeah, and it's the type of ride that a kid who is under 12 usually loves. But it was a big ticket item at this event. No. Look, I think.
If it was a Ferris wheel, I'd be more into it.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean,
I like Ferris wheels. Swing
no,
rides.
I would have been a dodgems. I
Actually,
mean, if they had dodgems, that would be better.
what is that?
What do you bumper cars? You call them?
Oh, I like bumper cars. Oh God, I bet you were brutal with bumper
Of
cars.
course, you T-bone someone. That's the only way you let them know you're there. You drive. You're meant to go around. No, you go straight across. Okay, sorry.
I could just see you like with all these little kids, and you're like by yourself begging the little kids.
No, look, I
Okay.
think the issue here is that the invite-only event was taking place 5 minutes away from the festival grounds of Coachella itself. So they had to organise buses and transport for the influencers to be shipped from one location to another. But they didn't have enough buses to do it. There was no communication for when the next one was coming, and people
I
were
see.
lining up in the sun without
No
water.
food, no water. Okay, got
I
it.
think the issue here is that it's not so much that they were not given food and water. I think it was that they just didn't handle the issue of how people were going to get there and how quickly. I think if people had got there faster and or had been communicated, look, come back in half an hour, the next bus is coming, we'll hold it for you. It just needed someone to literally traffic this through for them. They could have avoided it. But what it has done is thrust and Revolve firmly into the spotlight as having the disaster of 2022 Coachella. And
Oi,
given that it's the first festival in 2 years or 3 years, that's going to
I
leave a
see.
bad taste.
Yeah, I see that leaving the festival was similarly chaotic. Lifestyle influencer known as Bunny Barbie said she was invited with the VIP wristband, but still waited in line for 2 hours before she boarded a bus to leave.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, when you want to go, you want to go. There's nothing
Oh,
worse.
2 hours
Yeah.
for a VIP.
Hmm.
Not great.
Yes. I mean, I've heard that when you're coming down, that 2 hours could be horrible.
Right. I mean, we don't know what stage she was in, so it could have been
No.
completely fine.
But,
Maybe it just felt like 2 hours. Maybe it was 2
mhm.
minutes.
Look.
You never know. Never know what trip you're taking. It feel like forever.
Yeah. I mean, I think to call it the equivalent of Firefest is probably very harsh.
I think it's
Uh,
harsh. I think it's harsh.
I think the fact, though, that used in the same sentence
It's not
is
good.
not good.
It's
This is a really bad moment for Revolve. I would not want to be in their PR marketing team.
no.
If they are the ones who've been running an invite-only exclusive event, next year, no one's going to want to go. It's going to take them years to rebuild this. There's no amount of massaging this away.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, I
Fully
like.
communicated. Sorry, go on. You were going to say.
No, I was gonna say in general, I like the idea of this festival that they're doing outside the festival, but it's a shame that the logistics piece of it was so poorly managed. I think it's also kind of a good, warning shot to any big brands that are going to do something ambitious like this to make sure every single thing is buttoned up, because one little thing going wrong like this, it feels like a little thing when you're organizing it, and everything else went, you got all the stuff there, and you got all the influencers there, and you got all the sponsorships, and you have the swing thing up. I mean, like, it's going to feel like one little thing that you didn't think through, but that one little thing you didn't think through is a thing that could sink the brand.
Well, this is the thing. You never hear about the Oscars after party being a disaster, that people couldn't get to it, or that people were waiting for 5 minutes to get their champagne. It runs seamlessly, and if you're wanting to have the equivalent of an after party or an inner sanctum event, you've got to treat it the same way.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with influencers, they are your A-lists,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that will sink your brand, because they're going to go out and they're going to tweet about it, or they're going to snap about it, or they're going to TikTok about it. I saw some TikTok videos out there from a few people, and whilst the names aren't known to me, to their audiences, the combined audience, if there's 1,000 people waiting in the crowd and they each only have 100 followers, still a lot. It's 100,000 people that have heard about your brand. And let's face it, it's not just 100 people that have heard, it's not 100,000 people that have heard this. Revolve's name is, for now, a little bit muddied
Mhm.
And it would be interesting to see how they respond.
That's
This
going to be
article was
important.
published.
That's definitely going to be
Yeah.
important.
I haven't seen anything released by them to have mitigated the fallout from this.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I mean, given that
Which is
they were so,
problematic.
given it was so formulaic, and that Revolve told them what they had to do, you know, TikTok creator Anna Heed posted. She was invited as long as she posted 6 Instagram posts, 6 Instagram stories, 3 Instagram reels, and 3 TikTok videos. Oh, and 1 YouTube content piece. I mean, that's 6, 12, 18, 21, 22 pieces for her couple of hours there. It's a
A
lot.
lot.
I mean, and if she wants to now talk about the fact, you know, she includes one story as how the experience was, what do they do?
I mean, you'd think that would be built into the contract. They can't do that, but still.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the other thing is, and they're charging some people, customers and creators with smaller platforms, which I'm guessing means smaller audience
Followers.
You know, we're charging up to $2,000 on the brand's website or buy a ticket in. I mean, they've got a lot of things that have gone wrong suddenly for them, I think. And you know, as one person said, neither she nor any other influencers she's close to have received an apology or an explanation from Revolve. And she doesn't think she'll attend another Revolve event again. And she hopes her publicity will encourage other influencers to be honest about negative experiences without fear of being blacklisted from big events.
Mm-hmm.
She aired her grievances on TikTok. And I mean, if I look at this TikTok piece, I've just looked at it. Her opening statement, the Revolve event, absolute chaos. And it's so far been seen, it was posted 3 days ago, and it's had 350,000 likes.
Boy, it's not good.
That ain't a small number. And that's just one influencer.
Oy.
I mean, should I read some of the commentary? That's always fun.
Yeah, let's hear.
She's pinned a comment, so she's obviously been argued against a little bit. She said, yes, first world problems, but I'm allowed to feel frustrated. People were getting trampled. It was unsafe. I'm going to Hikes Joshua Tree today instead. Someone said, I genuinely don't understand how an invite-only event can't have enough buses for everyone. You know 200 people are going, so have 200 bus seats. She said they didn't have logistics planned efficiently. They poured so much money into sending these invites out to influencers instead. And someone said, be careful, babe. These people don't give AF. I should quote them, not interpret. I saw you leave. I stayed another couple of hours after you and still didn't get on the bus. It was terrible. Honestly, love to see realistic videos. Thank you so much. Glad you were safe. So there's, you know,
I like glad you were safe. It's like it feels like they're like elevating it to, you know, like the shooting in the subway in New York. So glad you're safe. Made it back from the Revolve Festival to the Coachella Festival. That
I heard it was horrific.
Close one. Wow. So it's kind of funny. It's just a little bit funny.
Yeah. So take out your turn.
I would say if you're a brand and you're doing something ambitious, you cannot overlook or get cheap about any single piece of that campaign that you're doing because it's gonna bite you. And then if you're gonna fix it properly, like Revolve should, it's gonna cost a lot because you either have to give their money back or pay them or send an apology that could be publicized. I mean, it's either going to be expensive in terms of dollars or in terms of reputation.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing is that this could be a moment where people have started speaking out. More and more people are speaking out as influencers, not just disgruntled normal patrons. Now you do inverted commas on that, normal patrons. That there's going to be more authenticity behind the scenes about what brands are getting right and getting wrong. And I think that this might take some of that gloss off. It may add more truth to what we see across social media. We won't know necessarily, but hopefully there's a little bit of a tipping in the balance back to truth and authenticity.
Yep, agreed.
So, interesting.
Very good. Very good. I think that's it, except for our communications buzzword check-in and tally. Unless there's anything else you want to add.
Hey, well, I didn't get your point today. Did you get your word in? And you picked up my point. So you've got 2 on me, which takes the total from the start of the day at 10 to me and 6 to you, to 10 to me and 8 because you got yours in.
No, you get 1 today for using your word.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we should change that for next season, where if you get it in and you're caught, you don't get a point, because otherwise you get a point and I get a point, and it just nulls itself out.
But what happens if you just don't use it at all? Then do you get negative
You
points?
lose a point.
You
Yeah.
lose a point. Okay. All right. Next season we'll do that. But for consistency, we should probably leave it, right?
Yeah. For now, we will leave it.
So just for everyone that doesn't know the tally, it is now Hamish 11 and April 8.
So what was your word?
It was predilection.
I didn't even hear you use it.
I used it in the takeaway for the first news story,
You have a
and said that
predilection for words,
companies have a predilection for lying anyway when it comes to you know,
Well used.
kind of slid it in there. So smooth like butter.
Well played.
Thanks. I'm still far behind, but at least
3
now
points. No.
I'm almost back in the game. It
Oh.
looks like it's possible. It's not likely.
Yeah,
But
I
at
know.
least-
You really got mine very well today. and even
Like, that
mispronounced it. I
seemed-
mean, that was terrible.
So what is it? What does your word mean again?
Specious. Technically, it means having a false look of truth or genuineness.
And predilection means a natural liking for something or a tendency to do or be attracted to something. Like me with singing.
That's right. Exactly right. Well done.
Thanks. So let's wrap it up and tell everybody goodbye. We miss you already.
So long, farewell. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening in. Don't forget, you can listen to us every 2 weeks, wherever you like to stream your favorite podcast.
And if you subscribe, rate, and share the show, you will help keep this awesome content coming your way and grow our community of communicators.
But don't forget, before we do sign off, we have a code that we can tell people about if they want to go and get a trust analysis.
Yay! So visit the link in the show notes below and use the code TrustAnalysis7 for a chance to win a free trust analysis workshop for the first one to enter. New clients qualify and terms and conditions apply. You can check out our webpage for a full rundown of the offer details. Can't wait to Trust Relations podcast with you next week.
Is that the sign off now?
No, it's terrible. No, this is where Hamish makes like one of his famous noises, one of his sound effects.
I didn't do any sound effects.
I know what happens. You
pure.
gotta do one for our closing.
No, I did a lot of voices instead. Well, I started with,
Hey, everybody.
so
Yeah,
I'm going
with-
to finish with.
Goodbye, everybody.
Here we go.
That was good.
All right, I'll be good now. Naughty Hamish.
Anyone who didn't see that on camera, Hamish just slapped his own hand
Yep, that's right.
audibly. I mean, it was like a Chris Rock slap. It was like.
Keep. No, anyway. You're not crazy.
I see you nodding.
Nobody sees me nodding.
You're nodding yes.
No, I was nodding no. It's very hard to
Head
do. Get
head
the
bobble?
head to. Yeah, it's very hard to get your head to nod and your brain to say the opposite word like that.
It is hard. It's like
No, that one's easy. Oh, you can't see my other hand, so
No.
I really, really
Could have
mastered that.
could have been doing anything. I have no
It
idea what
was.
happened.
Yeah, it was clicking out a jazz band tune. Anyway,